Imagine a band that came from a tiny company with no power, no money, no industrial backing, and yet they rewrote the music culture of entire world. This isn't just a story of K-pop. This isn't about the fame or the charts either. This story is about the dream, about the pressure, about people who stood up against the system. Today we are talking about BTS, or the fans call them Bangtan. Millions listen to them, millions follow them, and for millions BTS is in more than music. This documentary is about the rise, the impact, the movement that were known as ARMY. This is history, life, and legacy of BTS. BTS stands for Bangtan Sonyeondan. In Korean, it means Bulletproof Boy Scouts. Bulletproof is something that can stop bullets, and this name wasn't random. In South Korea, youth face enormous pressure from grades, careers, society, and parents. Expectation came from every direction. BTS idea was simple. We will stand against these bullets, and as the group grew, the meaning evolved, and BTS later announced the second identity beyond the scene. Not just kids, but the adults looking towards the future, a symbol that stands in the face of fear. In Japan, they were called Bangtan Sonyeondan. In America, a K-pop band. In Korea, a national pride. And for ARMY, they were just BTS. In the underground rap scene of Seoul, there was a boy. His name Kim Namjoon. His stage name RM. He wasn't a polished idol training. He battled in rap competitions. He wrote lyrics sharper than any school's textbook. His words, they were anger, intelligence, and confusion. Big Hit Entertainment, a tiny company, nothing compared to the big three, noticed RM. Initial plan was simple: form a hip hop group. But Big Hit took a risk. They thought, why not a group that thinks for themselves, that speaks for themselves, and write their own songs? Auditions were held in 2010. Teenagers arrived, some strong in dance, some in rap, and some in vocals. They all lived in same dorms, same rooms, little money, and 12 to 15 hours of daily practice. They were failures, members were replaced, confidence were broken, and one thing didn't break: their dream. There come one day when BTS performed the first time in front of industry insiders, small stage, limited audience, but the energy was dangerous. They didn't know it yet, but this performance would mark the first page of history. This is the real beginning of BTS story. When BTS officially debuted, the K-pop industry was already saturated. Perfect visuals, safe lyrics, manufactured personalities, and the BTS came with a song named No More Dream. The message was simple: what's your dream? Or you are just doing what the society expects you to. The song addressed the parental pressure, the education system, those who had stopped dreaming. The industry thought it was too risky, too aggressive, too uncomfortable. Sales wasn't explosive. Awards didn't came, but one thing happened. People noticed. BTS didn't give up. They released Are You Late To and School Love Affair. These albums weren't just music. They were statement, teenage frustration, anger, confusion, love and rejection. During this period, BTS announced the name of the fandom, ARMY. ARMY wasn't just fans. ARMY means protection, support, loyalty. And slowly, ARMY started growing online, internationally, and silently. 2014 to 2015, BTS announced the first world tour. People were shocked. Will this group really tour the world? Small ventures, limited budget, but every concert was sold out. They debuted in Japan, released albums like Dark and Wild and Wake Up. The sound evolved, the lyrics matured, and then the era came that would change everything. This era was called HYYH, the most beautiful moment in life. BTS went beyond rebellion. They showcased raw emotions, loneliness, fear of growing up, friendships breaking, dreams slipping away. I Need You became the first music show win, cameras zoomed in, members were crying. It wasn't just a trophy, it was validation. Then came Dope, and suddenly international audience exploded. Views, shares, reaction videos. BTS weren't just some K-pop group anymore. They were on the global radar. At this moment, BTS started breaking the rules of K-pop. BTS released the album called Wings, and at this time they weren't just talking about youth's pressure, they were talking about self identity, temptation, and growth. And the album drew inspiration from Charles Jung's idea, symbolism, art, and philosophy, blood, sweat, and tears. The song about sacrifice, about leaving behind innocence, and about paying the price of success. The music video was complex, the references were real. The audience were confused but obsessed. Wings entered to Billboard 200, and this wasn't just some charting, it was a statement. BTS has arrived, Las Vegas. Billboard Music Awards. BTS won Top Social Artist, the first K-pop group ever to do it. On stage stood the boys who once lived in small dorms, now among the world's biggest artists. At same year, Love Yourself Trilogy began. The message was clear. Whether the world accepts you or not, accept yourself. Songs like DNA, Mic Drop, Fake Love sold out stadium. Army's power became visible. The fandom was no longer just fans, they were global force. BTS wasn't just performing, they were representing something bigger: mental health, anxiety, depression, self-worth. RM took the stage of United Nations and said,
And maybe I made a mistake yesterday, but yesterday's me is still me. Today, I am who I am with all of my faults and my mistakes. Tomorrow, I might be a tiny bit wiser, and that'd be me too.
they partnered with UNICEF Love Myself campaign. They visited White House. Even the Korean economy felt the impact. BTS were no longer just entertainers. They became the soft power, the symbol of culture, the leader of global movement.
आज रात 12 बजे से संपूर्ण देश में संपूर्ण लॉकडाउन होने जा रहा है.
The world came to a standstill. Tours were cancelled, stadiums were empty, and BTS adapt. Online concerts, millions of viewers turning from the globe. Then came Dynamite, an English song, bright, hopeful, world needed it, and BTS delivered. They reached top 1 in Billboard Top 100. History repeated itself when life goes on. A Korean song reached number 1. Language barriers were officially broken. Grammy nomination from a small dorm in Seoul to become the soundtrack of pandemic. BTS has firmly established themselves as a global phenomenon. In South Korea, rules are simple. Military service are mandatory.
It's almost time for BTS to begin their mandatory military service. The oldest member will be the first to don the BDU and get a buzz cut. According to
BTS announced group activities would be paused. Members start enlisting. Fans were emotional. Speculation ran wild around the internet. But BTS' message was clear. This is not the end. While the group activities has stopped, solo projects started to begin flourished. Each member explored their own artistry, their voices, and their identities. Though apart, but they were still in BTS, and the army was still supporting them. BTS proved that success isn't just the visuals. It's not about the marketing. If music is honest and the message is clear, the world listens. 7 boys, a tiny company, an impossible dream. Today, BTS is not just a band, but a cultural landmark. And when people ask when was the BTS at their peak, perhaps the answer is the peak is still ahead.